against the Tatumless Celtics. In San Antonio, the Nuggets got a much-needed road win against the Spurs, who were without Wembanyama for the first time since January. Nikola Jokic had his league-leading 26 triple-double, and Jamal Murray added 39 points. And in L.A., Luka Doncic erupted for 51 points in a win over the Chicago Bulls. It was Luka's most points as a Laker. He is also the 5th Laker ever with 50 points, 10 boards, and 5 dimes in a game. We welcome back now Vince Goodwill and Brian Windhorst, and Joe Fortenbaugh is still here to break down what was a very crazy night in the NBA. But who had the best performances of all the ones that I just laid out? Joe, why don't you go first?
It's definitely not Luka, and that's going to sound like disrespect to Luka. This is not meant to disrespect Luka in any way. It is meant to disrespect the Chicago Bulls, who played no defense whatsoever. So we're going to throw that one out the window because SGA went against a good Boston defense, and Jokic went up against a good San Antonio defense. I go with Jokic, and I'll make it brief. I hate the idea that 31, 20, and 12 has just become so normalized by him, we don't even bat an eye at it anymore. That's how fantastic he is. It was the second half of a back-to-back. He had to travel the night before to get in to play the Spurs. I'm going with Jokic.
Hey, Jokic, I heard the dig about the Bulls, and I'll take it, and it's fine. Vince, best performance last night was who?
I mean, I've been known for taking digs at the Bulls through the years,
Yeah,
so I won't take any offense to it. But I actually do consider Luka's performance to be more eye-opening for me, and here's why. We've been waiting on Luka to figure out that this franchise is his. We've been waiting on Luka to truly establish himself with Austin Reeves there, with LeBron there. This thing is only going to work if Luka makes the decision that I can't defer to LeBron James anymore. And shooting more than 50% from three, hitting 9 threes, scoring 50, almost having a triple-double. I don't care if it's the Bulls. It's the fact that he scored 50 last night. It's also the fact that he's averaging 40 in his last 4 games. It feels like, as much as I'm not high on the Lakers, I am getting higher on Luka Doncic and his performances because he's starting to look like the player we expected him to be. Over the past week, we ain't been talking about Luka's out of shape, Luka's flopping, Luka's disappointing. Luka's been balling, and I think last night was just another example of why the expectations are so high for him individually and also for the Lakers collectively.
Wendy?
Shay, you and I should do that pinky swear thing. Like I like that Luka celebration last night. You and I should do a hand with that.
Okay.
I will also give special mention last night to Matas Buzelis from the Bulls, second-year player, who got into a trash talking match with Luka. And after the game, he said, I probably shouldn't do that. Which, the last thing you want to do with Luka in a game against a losing team on a Thursday night is to fire him up, and that's what happened. And he obviously was amazing last night shooting the basketball. But I have to give some attention to what happened in San Antonio. I as somebody, Vince and I did this for years, covering a team day to day. What it does to just us lowly media members who do not run clearly up and down the court and have to go on a back-to-back when you go from the Western time zone to the Central, or when you travel east. I don't think the Nuggets got into their hotel in San Antonio until after 3 a.m. On the second night of a back-to-back. They're down 20 points in the second half of that game. And what ends up happening is Jokic gets a foul called on him in the late part of the third quarter that he thinks is a BS foul. He implores his bench to review it. It doesn't get reviewed, and then he went on the warpath after that. The last 12, 14 minutes of the game, he was amazing. It was one of Jamal Murray's best games of the year. And even though Wembanyama didn't play in that game, considering how badly the Nuggets need every win right now and how they've been struggling and how they've been getting healthier, this was a really big performance. As a side note, Shay, I will just say it is interesting to me that Wembanyama has missed all 3 games against the Nuggets this year. He was ruled out with an ankle injury yesterday. I wonder if that actually could be a sort of a hidden advantage for the Spurs. Obviously, you get him, and he plays much better. Your team's going to be better. But you don't give the Nuggets an opportunity to practice against playing against that defense with him in there. So that's something to keep an eye on if they face off in the postseason.
Vince, I see you go.
Wendy, are you suggesting some old-fashioned San Antonio chicanery? Is that Greg Popovich behind the curtain pulling the strings? Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm sure the air conditioning was working just fine. I'm not suggesting that. I'm just saying it's interesting.
Wendy, one more time. Can you do the pinky celebration for me? If we're gonna do it together, though.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that.
Yeah, we got. But if we're gonna do that, we got to be in person. So it's tough to do far away.
That's true.
The Thunder and the Spurs. We had no Wembanyama. Okay, fine. Yesterday, obviously, it was a very close game with the Thunder and the Celtics. How big is the gap between these two teams right now? Joe, go ahead.
Thunder and Celtics or Thunder and Spurs?
Spurs in the West.
Spurs, not much. Not much at all. The standings are going to say, what, about 4 games right now? San Antonio may have lost last night. They've got a good track record against OKC this year, 3-1 with a win in their building as well. Since February 1st, the Spurs have been an absolute freight train. They're 16-2 straight up. They're 12-5-1 against the spread. They're number 1 in offensive rating. They're number 2 in defensive rating. Now, if we had all of that, but your matchups against OKC were problematic, then I might think to myself, all right, this is all great, patting it against the rest of the league, but you haven't handled your business against the Thunder. The fact that they have, I think it's very close. Very close.
Like, you think the Spurs could beat the Thunder potentially?
I think they could push them to the brink. Yeah, I think they could be right there. If you told me we see Spurs Thunder in a Game 7, not going to surprise me.
Okay, Vince, what do you think? How close is the gap between these two teams?
It's getting a lot closer, guys. I did not expect that to be the case, not this year. I thought the Spurs' perimeter shooting was going to be something that held them back. This month, they're shooting 40% from 3. Last night, against that Denver team that is bereft of defense outside of Aaron Gordon, they took full advantage of that. And I think the recognition of knowing that they're going to get good shots. Remember, they did that without the gravity of Victor Wembanyama, which shows me that this team is learning to know itself outside of that particular identity. Yes, Denver was on the back-to-back. Yes, Aaron Gordon wasn't out there, but they had to still take advantage of that and push Denver to the brink. And it took a 30-20-10 game out of Nikola Jokic to coax out a win. Their perimeter shooting has coincided with how scary they've gotten throughout the course of this season. And remember, when they played the champs early on in the season, their perimeter shooting was not good at all, and yet they still beat them and beat them pretty well. So I think it's much more of a conversation between San Antonio and Oklahoma City than it is between San Antonio and Denver, or San Antonio and Houston, and San Antonio and Minnesota. They have matured very quickly throughout the course of this season. I don't know if they can beat them, but I'm sure that's a team that the champs do not want to play in the Western Conference Finals.
Andy?
Yeah, so I would just say going forward, underestimating the Spurs is probably bad business, because it's not just Victor. Victor is obviously a phenomenon, but the Spurs' young guards and their veteran, no more veteran guard,